raised my stepson after his dad walked out, but at his wedding, he thanked the man who showed him what a real father was. While I was sitting in the last row, next to the caterers, then he handed me the bill. I still remember the first time I held him. He was 5, scared and quiet. His father had walked out just a few months before, and his mother, my then-girlfriend, was doing her best. When I came into their lives, I didn't come as a replacement, I came to help, to love. Over the years, I became dad. Not stepdad, not mom's boyfriend. Just dad. I taught him how to ride a bike, sat by his bed when he had nightmares, cheered at every school game, even when he missed the ball completely. I worked extra shifts to pay for his music lessons when he said he wanted to learn guitar. I stood in the cold for hours on the day of his high school graduation because his biological dad didn't even show up. But I showed up every time. So when he got engaged, and I heard him say he wanted me there, I felt proud. I thought maybe, just maybe, he saw me as his real father now. The wedding day came. I wore my best suit and brought a card with money inside, more than I could afford, but I didn't care. I arrived early, helped set up chairs, carried crates of drinks. I didn't mind. I was just happy to be included. But when the ceremony started, I was confused. My name wasn't on the seating chart. The ushers guided me to a plastic chair. In the back row, right next to the caterer's table. I could barely see the altar. Still, I smiled. I thought maybe he just forgot. Maybe the real seat was waiting for me at the front. Then I heard him speak. He was giving a speech, holding the mic with a nervous smile, looking so grown up in his suit. My chest swelled with pride until he said it. I want to thank the man who taught me what it means to be a real father. He was always there for me, my dad. And then he looked at the crowd and walked over to his biological father. The same man who left him. The same man who didn't call on birthdays. The same man who wasn't there when he broke his leg and cried in my arms all night. He hugged him. The guests clapped. I just sat there, frozen. No one noticed me. Not even my wife. Not even him. After the party, when most people had left, I was helping clean up out of habit when he walked over to me. Smiling, he handed me a thick envelope. I know you helped with some of the planning, so here's the remaining bill, $8,250. He said, you always handled the money stuff anyway. Thanks again, Dad. He said it like it meant nothing. I looked down at the paper, then up at him, and for the first time in years, I didn't smile back. I just stared at him. Not angry. Not hurt. Just empty. You called him your real dad. I said quietly, and you want me to pay for your wedding? He gave a short laugh, like I was joking. Come on, you've always been the reliable one. I looked past him, toward the dance floor. His new wife was laughing with her bridesmaids. My wife, his mother, was nowhere in sight. I held the envelope in my hand. It felt heavier than it should have. Maybe because it wasn't just paper. It was the weight of everything I'd given and never gotten back. I thought of the time I missed my own sister's funeral because he had a championship game. I thought of the guitar I bought instead of fixing my old car. I thought of the nights I stayed up sewing his torn prom suit when we couldn't afford a new one. And now I was standing next to empty food trays, holding a bill for the biggest day of his life, one I wasn't even really part of. You know what? I said, calm as ever. You're right. His smile widened, thinking I was going to say I'd handle it. Like always. I folded the envelope slowly, slid it into his tux pocket. You've got a real dad now, I said. Let him take care of it. I turned and started walking away. He called after me once, just once. Wait, what? I didn't turn back. I walked past the kitchen, past the waitstaff who gave me awkward looks, past the drunk uncles and sleepy kids. No one stopped me. No one even noticed I was leaving. Until the next morning. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. 8 missed calls, then 12, then 30. By noon, I had 72. His mother finally left a voicemail. Her voice was sharp, confused, embarrassed, angry. You left, you seriously just walked out. You could have at least handled the bill first. Everyone's asking questions, and I had to cover the deposit with my credit card. Not once did she ask if I was okay. Not once did she say she understood how I felt. I sat in my small kitchen, drinking cold coffee, staring at the wall. The silence in my house felt louder than the wedding music from last night. Then came a knock. I opened the door, and there he was, my stepson. No suit, no smile. Just bags under his eyes and regret written all over his face. Why'd you do that? He asked. Why did you? I replied. He looked down, like a child again. Like that 5-year-old who used to ask me to check under the bed for monsters. I didn't think it'd matter. You called another man your father. In front of me, after everything. He didn't say anything. So I kept going. You know the only reason I was sitting near the kitchen? Because there wasn't a seat for me at the family table. You had place cards made for every cousin, every uncle, but not me. He opened his mouth to speak, but stopped. I don't care about the money, I said, my voice cracking for the first time. I cared about being seen, about being acknowledged. I raised you, I stayed, I gave you everything I had. And on the day that should have been full of joy, you made me feel invisible. His eyes watered. I didn't mean to, but you did. He stood in silence for a long time. The wind outside was the only sound. Then he said something I didn't expect. I didn't want to hurt you, I just wanted him to notice me. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw the scared little boy again. He left and I kept thinking, if I made him proud, maybe he'd come back. Maybe he'd stay. And when he said he wanted to come to the wedding, I thought this is it, this is the chance. I stayed silent. He kept going, his hands shaking. But I didn't plan to ignore you. I don't know. I got so caught up in trying to get his attention. I didn't realize I was stepping all over yours. I looked at him, really looked at him. The tux was gone, the stage, the lights, the applause all stripped away. He was just a man now, a man who made a selfish mistake. And I was a man who'd spent half his life giving love without needing applause. But that didn't mean I deserved silence. I never asked you to choose between us. I said, quieter now. But on the biggest day of your life, you didn't even see me. He nodded, wiping his eyes. I did. But by the time I realized it, you were already gone. We stood there, both hurting, both trying to understand the damage that had already been done. Then he reached into his pocket. He handed me back the envelope. I don't want your money, I just want a second chance, not as a groom, not as a grown-up, trying to make his real dad love him, but as the kid who used to think you hung the moon. My chest tightened, because for a second, just a second, I remembered that little boy again, the one who used to hold my hand so tightly in public, because he said it made him feel safe. And now, he was handing me more than a bill. He was handing me the weight of forgiveness. But forgiveness isn't a light switch. It's something you walk toward, one slow step at a time. I didn't take the envelope. Not yet. I looked at him, really looked. At the grown man with tired eyes who once believed I could fix anything with duct tape and a hug. You can't undo what you did. I said softly, you can't rewrite who you chose to thank, or where you made me sit, or who you made me feel like. I know, he whispered, but if you want a second chance, I continued, you need to understand something first. He nodded, waiting. I was never trying to compete with your real dad. I didn't step in to win some prize. I stepped in because you were a kid who needed someone. And I fell in love with being that someone. He blinked quickly, like he was trying not to cry again. But love, I said, my voice shaking now. Love deserves respect, not just quiet loyalty in the shadows, not just convenience when the bill comes. He closed his eyes. I was wrong. Yeah, I said, you were. We stood in silence again. This time, it felt different. There was no anger in the air now, just truth, and the painful space that truth always brings. Finally, I reached for the envelope. Opened it, pulled out the bill. Then I tore it in half. This, I said, dropping the pieces, isn't why I showed up. It never was. He looked at the shredded paper on the porch floor like it was more than money, like it was a broken pattern. Then why did you come? He asked. I paused. Then I said something I hadn't even realized until that moment. Because I hoped you'd see me the way I always saw you, as mine. And for the first time since the wedding, he cried. Not because he was guilty, but because he finally understood. He stepped forward like he wanted to hug me, but stopped. I don't know how to fix it, he said. I looked at him, then down at the pieces of the bill torn on the ground. You don't fix something like this with flowers or a phone call. He nodded slowly. You fix it by showing up, I continued. When there's no crowd, no stage, no one to impress. I will, he said quietly, if you'll let me. I didn't say yes, not right away, but I didn't say no either. Instead, I stepped aside and opened the door. Come in, I said. There's coffee, it's bitter but it's real. He gave a small smile, like you. We sat at the kitchen table, in silence for a while. No speeches, no music, just two men sitting with years between them and a lifetime to unpack. And when he reached across the table, not to pass a bill or ask for money, but just to hold my hand, I let him, because sometimes, the loudest I'm sorry is the one that isn't spoken at all. 1 year later, the doorbell rang just after lunch. I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and opened the door to find a delivery driver holding a small brown box. "It's from Miles," he said, reading the name off the sticker. "My stepson." I signed for it and brought the box inside. There was no fancy tape, no gift wrap, just a note taped on top in his handwriting. For the man who showed up when no one else did, every time. I opened the box slowly. Inside was a photo frame. The picture was an old one, him at 10, missing teeth and holding a soccer trophy, and me kneeling beside him in a faded hoodie, arms around his shoulder. I'd forgotten the picture existed, but it was what was carved into the bottom of the wooden frame that made my throat tight. My dad, the only one who stayed. Underneath it was another note. "I told the world he was my father once, but you were the father, you didn't need a speech. You already earned it, every single day." I sat down at the table, holding the frame in my lap. For the first time in a long time, I let myself cry. Not from hurt, but from healing. Because maybe love doesn't need a spotlight to mean something. Maybe real fathers aren't named in speeches. They're the ones who stay when no one's clapping.